Okie dokie. So, strap towards the back of your mat. Oh God. Strap towards the back of your mat. Block. I'm not really sure, just somewhere. So we're going to focus on the upper back. So there's going to be quite a lot of little kind of high releases. So I don't know if that's like a familiar term or not, but high release is just that kind of lifting up of the chest and that leaning back. Sometimes people talk about kind of leaning back over a beach ball. I've heard that before, but a sense of opening up the chest without taking it into a full-on kind of lean back or back bend. Yeah, and hopefully you're going to feel like you find a little bit more space around the neck, the shoulders, the chest, and hopefully feel a little bit kind of energized. We are going to finish with a nice big back bend, but we'll work up to it. So I'm going to start kneeling. You're welcome to take any other comfortable seat. So getting yourself comfortable, closing your eyes, and just seeing if you can take a little bit of time to arrive on your mat. And that might literally be a sense of a sigh or a release, that feeling of kind of surrendering your weight. So maybe feeling the weight of your pelvis settle, release down into the mat. We quite often have a habit of kind of holding ourselves slightly out or away from things, that sense of being a little bit tighter in the chest, and it does change where you put your physical weight as well. So trying to release, surrender. I'm here for the next 60 minutes, for me, for my body. And see if you can just observe your breath. Not doing anything in particular with your breathing. And if that creates any sort of noise in the mind, it causes that kind of questioning voice. Oh, am I doing something? Is this right? Is this wrong? If it causes that voice to kind of pipe up a bit, that is going to have an effect on your breathing. So just reassure yourself that you can't do it wrong. And we're not looking for anything in particular with your breathing, just whatever's there. We're not looking for perfection. We're not necessarily always looking for things to be comfortable. Opening ourselves up to be honest about whatever we might have experienced or we might sort of come up against in our practice. And most importantly of all, trying to do so without any kind of judgment. Nothing being right or wrong or better or worse than something else. But then just start to very slightly slow your breathing down, keeping it fairly soft. But starting to direct your inhale into the back of the shoulder blades. If it helps, you can maybe imagine that someone is resting the palms of their hands on the back of your shoulders and you're trying to direct your breath into their hands. And then shifting the focus so that you're directing your inhale to the sides of the rib cage, the space below the armpits. So a more lateral breath. Still keeping that inhale slightly on the higher side. Not pulling it down into the belly. Still focusing that breath around the shoulders. And then seeing if you can focus your inhale into the ball and socket joint of the shoulder. Perhaps a sense of, as you breathe in, it almost creating a lightness or an expansion in that ball and socket joint. Obviously, if that's not kind of a useful visual or useful idea, just let it go. Just think of breathing into the shoulders themselves, the shoulder head, the shoulder joint. And then lastly, we're going to move into some three-part breath. So you're going to breathe in and out in 3 stages. So as you inhale, you're first drawing that breath down to inflate the belly, and then up to the low ribs, and then inhaling up into the chest, and then exhaling from the chest, from the low ribs, and lastly from the belly. So whatever pace works for you, but as you breathe in, you're filling from the bottom, middle, up to the top, and reversing on the exhale, breathing out or exhaling, emptying from the top, the middle, the bottom. Take one more complete round of breath in that way. And once you finish that out breath, and just allowing your breath to return to normal, to something that feels comfortable, effortless. Just having a moment to notice how you're feeling after that bit of focused breath work. And then eyes can be open or closed, but you're going to interlace the hands and take them to the back of the head, the back of the skull, drawing the elbows back, and ever so slightly with the hands, think of just lifting or drawing up towards the ceiling, as if you want to put the tiniest bit of space between the top of the spine and the base of the skull. The occipital joint, I believe, or maybe the atlas joint, I'm not sure. As you're drawing up, just make sure that you're not kind of lifting out of your seat and drawing yourself up into the chest triangle, but still release the weight of the pelvis and soften the front of the body. It's quite subtle, that drawing up. And then again, keep the elbows squeezing back, release that kind of upwards motion. But you're then going to lift the chest, allow the chest to open towards the ceiling and the face to turn upwards. So we've got our first of our sort of mini back bends or our high releases. And relax the throat. You might want to just adjust slightly the chin angle, either further away from or closer to the chest, to find a bit more ease through the throat, a bit more ease in your breath. And then take a breath in, think of allowing the front of the chest to expand. And as you breathe out, just see if you can draw the low ribs back in towards the body. And then bring the head back to neutral. Keep the elbows wide, keep the hands on the back of the head. Take a moment just to release that effort around the abdominals. And then we're going to go again. Opening up, lifting through the chest. Little high release, little back bend, elbows are wide. You might sort of feel that you want to release the weight of the head into the hands, that's fine. And then after taking a breath in, use your out breath to start to close the front of the body, drawing the low ribs in towards each other, knitting them down onto the front of the body. It might change what's happening through the chest and the shoulders just slightly. And again, coming back to center. And as you release the arms, you're going to take your left hand out wide, coming into a supported side plank. So lifting the hips, extending the right leg and taking the right arm overhead. So you'll be sort of across your mat. Think of planting the right foot, extending the right arm, slightly squeezing the hips forwards. A couple of breaths there, and then if you want to, starting to take the right arm back behind the ear, hips come forwards again, and maybe starting to take it into a little bit of a back bend. We still want to keep a sense of space in the low back, and make sure there's some space as well around that left shoulder. So maybe that left arm is a bit active, either pushing down or slightly pushing forwards maybe. And as you release the hips back to the heels, coming back to kneeling, you're going to sweep the arms all the way up towards the ceiling. Reach fingertips up, slightly knit low ribs down, and then again, you're going to take a little high release with the arms in this position. So if that feels too much, you're going to bend the elbows, take it into more of a cactus position. So you're going to have to stabilize a little bit more through the abdominals. All right, so you might feel that happening kind of automatically. How does it feel if you draw the shoulders up towards the ears? How does it feel if you allow the shoulders to settle into something that feels a bit more natural? For you, that might still be quite high. It might be a little bit low, but not thinking of pulling the shoulders down, because naturally they need to rise when our arms come overhead. The position of our shoulders, of the shoulder joint, the shoulder blade will change. But let's release that. Take the right hand out wide. I'm going to just turn. Again, right hand out wide, lifting the hips, supported side plank. So planting the left foot, little squeeze of the hips forwards. Again, a little bit of activity through the right arm, either pushing the floor away or maybe sort of trying to send the hands forwards. And then again, that option to take it into a little bit of a back bend, taking the left arm back behind the ear, hips forwards again, opening up through the chest. Releasing the jaw, not gritting the teeth. Nice, and then again, releasing hips to heels and coming to an all fours position. You're going to take a few breaths in your cow pose, so allowing the tailbone to lift, not quite sinking into the low back. Maybe that's how it starts, but then trying to just find a little bit of space in the low back, slightly drawing the shoulder blades down towards the ears. Again, the neck and the jaw are quite free. And then when you're ready, rounding it into your cat pose, and again, taking a few breaths there. Making any little adjustments, any little movements that you might like, that you might need. Then allowing your spine to come to neutral, taking a little step forward with the hands. And again, we're going to work with that rounding, that cat position. So a bit of a step forward with the hands. You might need to adjust it as we start to move. You're going to take that cat pose and we're going to try and maintain that rounding, that protraction through the back of the shoulder blades as you push the hands forwards and bring the hips back to the heels. As you find that child's pose, we're looking for that moment of sort of, as you then release the spine to a more natural, more neutral position. Push down with the hands again, try and find that rounding, that cat pose. As you shift forward, you're going to go back to where you came from. So that slightly long cat pose, slightly long all fours position. From there, push the hands forwards, keep the rounding as you send hips back to heels. And again, releasing the spine at the bottom. 2 or 3 more of those in your own time. And we're working for that rounding. You should feel that a little bit in the back of the shoulders. And try to make sure you're not holding your breath. Then when you're ready, you're going to round, come through that cat position, and then keep the hips coming all the way forwards. The chest lifts, and you'll find your way into a back bend. Back bend of your choice. You might have to change the position of the hands. You're giving yourself a little bit of time to get there and a bit of time in your back bend again to open up across the chest, to make sure you've got a bit of space and stability around the low back. Right, before releasing all the way down onto your front. Nice, so once you're down onto your belly, glue the tops of the feet to the floor and take a few rounds of cobra lifts. So hands or fingertips in a comfortable position, so maybe slightly wider and slightly further forwards in the shoulders, but see what works for you, using your in-breath to lift the chest and the out-breath to release down, keeping tops of feet on the floor and trying to take the effort bit by bit out of the arms and into the back of the body. So we're not pushing so much as using our own back body strength to lift, to peel off the floor, even if it's only a tiny bit. Taking a little pause at the top of your next lift. Keep breathing. Before releasing back down again. So you're going to need a little bit of space around you, a bit of space to the front and a bit of space to the side. If you haven't got that space, you're just going to work with bent elbows. So keeping the tops of the feet glued onto the floor. Taking the arms out in front of you with the palms facing down. Nice long arms. I'm going to keep my head up just for now so you can hear me. You're going to start just by lifting the hands off the floor, hovering, taking a breath in. As you breathe out, retracting the shoulders and pulling the elbows back, like a little kind of pull down. And then returning, extending the arms forward. Trying to hover at the same height off the ground. You can rest once the arms get back to the top. Again, trying to keep the forehead down. Lift, hover, start by feeling that pull back, that kind of squeeze the shoulder blades, then the elbows. Then reaching forwards once again, shoulders up to the ears. Just one more of those, because we've got a few different kind of variations to work on. So next up is going to be fairly similar. You're going to think about keeping your hands specifically reasonably close to the floor. You're going to start in the same position again. Your forehead is going to be on the floor. You're reaching forward But this time you're going to thread the backs of the fingers underneath. They're going to skim the sides of the chest and then reach or pull down towards the toes. The palms are going to be on top when you reach that end position. And then again, you're trying to keep the hands at the same distance off the floor. So the elbows are going to move wide, the shoulders are coming up to the ears, and as the hands find sort of the chest or whatever feels accessible for you, you're going to turn them, thread them through, and pull them forwards. 2 or 3 times. So trying to think about the hands being at a consistent height on or off the floor. Palms down at the start of the movement and palms up at the midway point, so the arms are reaching back. Then to start the movement, you're lifting the hands off the floor and starting to thread the fingers under. One more if you want to, and then we're going to move on to another exercise. So for the next one, if you've got your block and you want to use it, this is the time for it. If you haven't got it or you don't want to, absolutely fine. So if you don't have a block, you've got 2 options. Option number 1, let me just turn myself around so I've got space. Option number 1, simply from that lifted position, forehead again is going to stay on the floor. Lift the hands, take them all the way around wide behind you. You can either bring the fingertips to meet, or you can just find that kind of hover position with the shoulders back, the arms straight and the palms squeezing in, and then returning to where you came from. If you've got a block, you're going to take your block in your right hand, lift the arms, take the block down, all the way around, and rest it on your bottom or your low back. Take your right arm back around to the front and kind of relay race slightly. Tap your left hand in. Your left arm is then going to come back all the way around. Find your block and take it back to the front. And tap. Keep the block in your left hand. Take it all the way around. Put it down. Bring the left hand back to tap the right. And then the right hand's going off to connect. Now there is an option if you want to, whether you have a block or whether you don't have a block, to take that same movement with a little cobra lift. Okay, so if you want to, you're going to lift the chest, lift the forehead, lift the arms, and again, take the same movement, either 2 arms together, no block, or passing the block from back to front, and keeping, I don't know what the end of that sentence was. I don't know, I can see. Yeah, and just rest when you need to, guys. Awesome. So either finish up the one that you're on, or take one more if you want to, and then just have a moment to chill. Bring your arms around to the front of the mat. Just rest the forehead, or take the arms to a comfortable position. Have a little second to chill. When you feel ready, you're going to extend your right arm straight out from the shoulder, or bend the elbow to 90 degrees. The elbow will be in line with the shoulder, fingertips in front of you. From there, bend your left leg and kick the left foot back behind you. So you've got a little shoulder opener to the right side, little twist. If you want a little bit more for the twist side of things, you're going to bend your right knee. Bend your right knee and take the right foot to the floor. Also, 2 knees up to the ceiling. Relax the back of the neck. I forgot to say left arm. You can keep the forearm on the floor, but if you bring the palm of the left hand to the floor, that's going to just help you get that roll over. If you want more for the shoulders, left arm up and back, as if you're trying to, or as if you are, catching fingertips. Try to make sure neck feels comfortable, jaw is relaxed. And then when you're ready, coming back onto your belly, take your time to switch sides. So left arm either straight out or again that cactus bend. Use the right arm to help you roll. You should be lying on your left side. The right knee bends, right foot finds the floor behind you, and then again you've got time to adjust, whether you're adding in a second knee bend with the left leg, if you want to add some extra with the arms, the shoulders. And then again, releasing onto your belly once more. From here, your option is to take it up into an upward facing dog on the tops of the feet or the toes, is your choice. So you might find that you need to just pull the hands back a little bit, or maybe once you're up there, you want to just shuffle forward slightly to draw the chest through between the arms. And from there, chin to chest, if you can roll your way back, waving through the spine to find your downward facing dog. From that down dog, slowly bring your knees down to the mat. Bring the knees and the feet in closer together, and then just sit onto your heels. So the toes are still tucked. Arms out in front of you, turn the palms up to the ceiling, and then squeeze the arms back behind you. If you haven't got space, you're going to keep the palms down, bend the elbows, retract shoulders and elbows. From here, as the arms come back in front of you, you're going to rock back, bring the heels to the floor, find a little chair pose. Nice. Now, if it's available from your chair pose, you're just going to reach down, take a hold of your strap, and then come all the way, oh God, up to standing. Obviously, if that wasn't possible, just grab your strap rather now at this point. In fact, giving you a bum steer, just pop your strap to one side again. Bring your feet about hip distance apart, interlace your hands, take to the back of the skull, sorry. Hands to the back of the skull. Again, that little bit of lifting up, elbows wide, think soft feet, but grounded feet, so we're not gripping with the toes. Soft feet, but grounded feet, little high release. So again, thinking chest up and open. You might want to also think about what's happening in the legs. Do you prefer a little bend of the knees? Do you prefer a more active leg pressing down? Do we still have a sense of space at the low back? See if you can just slightly draw the low ribs back onto the front of the body. Does that change, or what does that change? And then releasing back to center, release the arms that just hang down by the side of the body for a second. Then you're going to take the same thing with the arms extended is your option. You can keep the elbows bent. And taking the arms up towards the ceiling. Shoulders up towards the ears. Again, you're going to need to think about your base. Think about your foundations, and then again, taking it into a high release, or maybe this one is starting to take you more into the land of a back bend. Think about the position of the head. If it feels stressful for the front of the throat, is the head hanging back? Would it feel better to bring the chin slightly more toward the chest? Good, and coming back to neutral, releasing, and now taking hold of your strap. Just 2 or 3 dislocates. 2 or 3 dislocates. Shoulders are coming up to the ears between each one. Obviously, if you haven't got a strap, you don't have your prop any, then just thinking of keeping the arms straight and trying to keep them closer together as opposed to letting them swing far away, far apart. And then with your strap, take the arms up above the head and pull the hands away from each other. Wrap the hands in closer once. You said one time, once. Hit the arms up again and pull the hands just slightly away from each other. You're going to go for another little back bend or high release with that strap, with that slight pulling apart. So set yourself up. You're only going to spend maybe 4 or 5 breaths in your back bend when you get there. Keeping that little pull with the arms. Before releasing all the way back up, take a moment to settle. I don't know about you, but I find that much easier having something to resist against. Pop your straps down, stand at the back of your mat. Pick up your left leg. And you're just going to take that left knee in and out, so you're internally and externally rotating, getting into the hips a little more. Bit of softness in your standing leg. And then draw the left knee all the way up to your chest. Take the arms out wide as you extend. Push the left leg forwards. Draw the tummy in for 3, 2, and 1 step forwards onto it. Same thing on the other side. You're taking that little warm up of the hip because they've not seen a huge amount of action as yet. And then again, drawing the right knee up to the chest, expanding the arms, extending the right leg, drawing the tummy in for 3, 2, and stepping onto it. 1. Good. Give the legs a little bit of a shake. Take the feet towards the outer edges of the mat, turn the toes out. You're going to make your way down into a wide squat. The hands and the arms can be doing whatever you want. A little moment at the bottom, and then pushing all the way back up to standing. Again, another 2 or 3 more times, depending on what's feeling good for you. Feel free to adjust positioning of feet and legs. Feel free to adjust or play about with where you have your hands, having them up overhead. I'm going to challenge that core a little bit more, she says, falling over. And once you're done, bringing the feet about hip distance apart, making your way into a forward fold. So it's your time in this forward fold. Ragdoll, strong, static, moving, whatever you like. Maybe thinking about the placement of the weight in your feet, more to the heels or more to the toes. What's happening with your legs? Do you like them to feel a little bit softer, a bit more passive? Do you want to engage them, activate them, maybe by pushing the feet down into the floor, or maybe you think of drawing up through the thighs? What's happening in the abdominals? Something? Nothing? Do you know? Does it matter to you at this time? And then either taking the hands to the shins, so you can press the hands back and extend the spine forwards for your flat back, or fingertips to the floor, but little flat back lift. Neck long, jaw free. And then to release from there, hands down to the mat, stepping back to a downward facing dog. Lifting your right leg, giving yourself a little bit of time in your 3-legged dog. Whether you're opening the hip, whether you're again moving, whether you're still, doesn't matter too much. Before stepping the right foot to the top of the mat, dropping your back knee, and we're going for a little quad stretch. So taking whichever arm you prefer back to catch that foot. And then I personally am just taking a little, kind of a very slow sort of squeezy pulse, bringing the hips a little bit further out and then a little bit further in to that stretch. Before releasing, stepping back to your down dog, lifting your left leg. Again, taking time there. In that 3-legged dog. Before again, stepping the left foot forwards, dropping the back knee down. See if you can catch that foot, and again, option is there for a little bit of kind of squeezy, pulsing, a little bit less, a little bit more action. Whatever you want, whatever you need. Before again, releasing back into your down dog. If you want to take a vinyasa, now's a great time to do so. But when you're ready to move on from your down dog, stepping your right foot outside of your right hand, and then bringing your back leg in closer. So you've got that kind of 90 degree lunge, but back knee hovered just off the floor. Make sure your legs or your stance isn't too narrow. Wider is going to be a little bit better here. So back knee just off the floor, body low or flat back, hover your fingertips. So the legs are strong, feet pushing away, outer hips squeezing in, fingertips hovering off the floor. Before then coming all the way to standing, take the arms up overhead, interlace the fingers and take to the back of the skull. Two legs are straight. Again, if it feels a bit precarious, adjust your stance. Think pressing down through the feet, lifting up through the chest, little high release. Release the arms, fingertips up to the ceiling. The arms are going to swing forward. Bend both knees as the fingertips brush the floor, reach back behind you. Fingertips brush the floor, reach up to the ceiling as you come to balance on your right leg, top of the mat. Taking it into some figure of eights with the left leg, left hip. Let the arms relax. That left leg is coming across and up in front. Then it's crossing out behind. Again, standing leg is pliable. But you're then going to step your left leg towards the back of the mat. So you're going to land in a warrior two with the right knee bent. Now from here, keeping the hips low or level-ish, you're shifting back and forwards through the legs, back and forwards on the mat. If you want to add a little bit of circling with the arms, imagine you're holding a ball or sort of martial arts style, a ball of energy. Right arm on top as you shift towards the right leg, and left arm on top as you pull back towards the left leg. Right arm on top, left arm on top. Don't worry too much about it. It's an option. It's not an order. Just sort of find it helps me to get that kind of shifting, circling action. But pause then in your warrior two, just again have a little moment to land there. Before straightening your right leg, turning the right toes about 90 degrees, and then making your way into your horse stance or your goddess pose. So make sure your legs are not too wide, not too narrow. Toes turned out, and let's add in some cactus arms, either palms forwards or palms up. Feeling that little squeeze across the back of the shoulders, bit of power through the upper back. If you want to, again, adding a little high release, it's going to challenge your balance to make sure you're stabilizing a little bit. Before pushing two legs to straight, turn the toes forwards, interlace the hands behind the back, wide-legged forward fold, drawing the hands up and overhead as you go. So once you find that fold, working the hands over the top. If that feels a little bit much, then find any other position with the arms. Try and relax the back of the neck. If you want a little bit more intensity, you're going to bring the heels of the hands together in that clasp. Otherwise, just letting the hands be a little more open. But stay in your fold, release the fingertips toward the floor. And again, you might need to just adjust the positioning of your legs, but you're going to turn your right toes to the top of the mat, bring your right fingertips inside the right foot, and then circle your left arm forwards and overhead. So you're going to arrive in a side angle. Take a breath in, As you breathe out, left arm comes down in front of the face, pivot to the back of your mat, turning the toes. Same thing on the other side. The right arm sweeps in front of the face, side angle. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, release right arm. Once more at each side. Using the fingertips to help as you walk, pivot to the front of the mat. Left arm sweeps, hips forwards, breath in. Good, breathing out to release. Make sure you're not holding your breath in between. Last one on the left. Before you release, walk the hands all the way to the front of your mat. Pause in your lunge with the right leg in front. Take your right hand off the floor, come onto the little toe edge of your left foot. You're going to step the right leg up and back behind you, plant the toes on the floor, and move it into a wild thing. Squeezing the hips forwards, right arm alongside the ears. Ears, ear. From here, slowly release your bum down to the floor, and then bend your left knee so the sole of the foot is planted. So I'm just going to turn myself slightly. You're going to be sitting 2 knees bent, left hand on the floor behind you, if possible, left fingertips pointing away. We're going to take a little crab reach. So the right hand comes in front of the face, thumb in line with the nose. Try and keep your heels on the floor as you squeeze the hips into the air and take the elbow up toward the ceiling. Look down towards your left hand and then bring that right arm, so the right hand in front of your face, as if you're trying to squeeze the right fingertips toward the floor. Lift the hips higher. Breathe. And then release all the way back down where you came. Nice. Once you're there, extend your left leg. Left hand is still at the front of your mat. Lift the hips up. Look down toward the top of the mat. You're stepping over to come into a plank pose to complete a vinyasa, or just take it into a down dog or a child's pose if you prefer. Great. Once you're back in your down dog, you're ready to move on. You're going to step your left foot outside of your left hand. And again, find that short lunge. So 90-90 with the legs, back knee just off the floor, legs maybe moving towards the outer edges of your mat. So you're not too narrow, hover the fingertips. Make sure back knee is not creeping up. Keep it nice and low. Strong legs, hips in, tummy in, spine long. Breathing, 3, 2, and all the way up to standing. Take the hands to the back of the head. Elbows wide, adjust your feet if you need to. Strong legs, lifting up, opening the chest. High release. Extend the arms up to the ceiling. As you bend both knees, sweep the arms back behind you. Sweep them forwards and up, come to balance on your left leg. Relax the arms. Use them to help you balance as you start moving into those figure of 8s. Before stepping the right leg back into your warrior 2. And then again, shifting back to front. Left hand on top as you push towards the left leg, the top of the mat. Right hand on top as you pull back towards the right leg. Again, those arms, that kind of ball in front of the body is optional. Make sure you are using the push and pull of the legs and not just kind of popping the knees to straight. If we start from the feet and use that pushing action, then pushing the right foot back to shift forwards, pushing the left foot forwards to move back, then it should avoid that sensation of knees locking. But let's pause again in your warrior 2. Great, before straightening the left leg, again finding your horse stance, your goddess pose. Strong arms if you want them, cactus arms, but they are optional. High release if you want it, again, optional. Maybe to challenge yourself to come onto the balls of the feet. This time, setting the heels down, straightening the legs, turning the toes forward. We're going to go for a flat back. So hinging forwards at the waist, little bend of both knees. And settle into that flat back position. The hands can be wherever you need them. Thinking, supporting the low back, lengthening the spine. And then if you want to see how it feels to straighten the legs, if that feels good, go for that as well. Trying not to push the hips back too much, which is going to cause a little bit, possibly, of an arch in the low back. Trying to keep the weight more towards the front of the feet so you're extending forwards before coming all the way up to standing. Turn your left toes towards the front of the mat. Take a breath in. As you breathe out, side angle. That right arm is sweeping over. Take a breath in when you get there. As you breathe out, release the right arm, pivot to the back of the mat. Left arm circles, side angle, breath in. And breath out to release. Pivoting, one more on each side. Before once again walking the hands to the top of your mat, coming into that lunge with the left foot in front, lift your left arm out of the way, come onto the blade, the little toe edge of your right foot, make sure your right arm is strong as you step the left leg back behind you, moving into your wild thing. You're releasing hips down to the floor, bending the right knee in. Again, I'm just going to pivot around. So you've got two knees bent, 2 feet planted, right hand not too far away from you. Bring it in fairly close, fingers pointing away if possible. Left hand in front of the face. Start to lift the hips, left elbow up toward the ceiling, turn to look down to the floor and squeeze the left hand in front of your face as if you want the fingertips to move towards the floor. Then lift the hips higher. Strong right arm, active left arm, heels are on the floor. 3, 2, 1. Good. Slowly coming back down again. Extend your right leg. Right arm is comfortable. Lift the hips. Look towards the top of the mat as you step over, coming to your high plank. And moving through from here, moving through a vinyasa, or just coming back to a child's pose or a down dog, or having a little moment to chill. Next place we're going to get to is lying on our fronts. So do with that what you will, whether you want to get there, whether you want to move a little bit more first. It's up to you. So I'm going to guide you through bow pose. We're going to go single side first, just to make sure body's getting okay. Then full pose, maybe twice. See how you feel. If you know that you'd rather take a different back bend, or if you just don't want to do a back bend, fill this time. Whatever you want, whatever you need, doesn't matter. But if you're joining me, you're coming onto your belly. I am so out of breath, oh my God. Going onto your belly. I'm going to start with my right leg. So bending the right knee, either reaching back, catching the top of the foot, or catching the front of the ankle and flexing the foot, if sometimes that hand to foot bind bothers your knee. Kicking foot to hand, squeezing thigh off the floor, trying not to let the knee wing out too much, but also not worrying that much about it. We're not too fussy. I'm not trying to squeeze the knees in to touch or anything. You're just releasing that first side, same thing on the other. Oh, goodness me. I'm going to squeeze left thigh away from the mat. And then again, releasing down. I'm not going to lie, all I can hear in my head right now is, oh my God, full blow, oh my God, how can I get out of it? Oh my God. But we're going to do it. So when you're ready, again, this is an option. Take whatever else you might want or you might need. But bending both knees, trying to kill time, putting it off. Bend both knees, catch hold with the feet, kicking feet into hands, working into that back bend. Thighs away from the mat. Shoulders opening. Neck comfortable, throat comfortable. So if you're looking up, that might make it really hard to breathe. So maybe take your eye line slightly lower toward the floor, the front of your mat. Releasing when you're ready, having a little moment, and knowing the option is there if you want it to go again. Taking your time to set up, taking your time to move into it, trying to disengage from any unhelpful thoughts which might be drowning out what you're actually, feeling or experiencing. And releasing whenever you're ready, taking a little moment. And when you're ready, rolling onto your back. Once you get onto your back, again, if you're still kind of doing your own thing, keep doing it. Just take a moment to let the body settle there, knees bent. And just coming to rest. Arms resting wherever feels good for you, whether that's back overhead, you've got your hands resting on your body. Taking the feet towards the outer edge of the mat. And just gently windscreen wiping the knees right to left. Before bringing the knees back to center, bringing the feet in closer, knees in toward the chest, no hands. You're steadying the feet up towards the ceiling, you don't have to straighten your legs. Just take a little pause there. Think about lengthening the low back. And without too much stress, just starting to lower the feet, the legs towards the floor. When you feel you can't maintain it anymore, just bending the knees and allowing the feet to come down. And you're going to do that again. And it's up to you 3, 4, 5 times. Can we keep an air of kind of nonchalance? Obviously, there's going to be a reasonable amount of effort that's required to maintain that stability, to keep the tummy, the abdominals from kind of bulging or keep the low back from lifting away from the mat, but we don't want to force it or create, loads of tension around the jaw. If low back is sore, of course, just pop your hands underneath your bum, tuck them under the back of your pelvis for a little bit more support. When you're done, just taking a little moment in the cobbler's pose. So soles of the feet together, knees out wide, and then arms back behind the head, palms up to the ceiling. A little bit of stillness. And we're going to wrap it up with a little fish pose if you want it. So bringing the knees back up toward the ceiling, you're going to make that a diamond shape with your hands. So tips of the fingers touching, thumbs touching. You're going to tuck that diamond underneath the back of the pelvis. Extend the legs. Push down with the forearms so the chest can lift up. Work the elbows and forearms in a little bit closer. And then lifting the chest. So feeling that kind of that puffing, that floating up of the chest. Shoulders back. Head drops back. If you want a little bit more core, then you can lift the legs away from the floor here. And again, releasing whenever you're ready. If you want to take some more time there, please do. And as you release from that fish pose, take a moment. Is there anything that you particularly want or need to prepare you or get you ready for your Shavasana? That might just be grabbing a jumper. That's where we're heading to next, is your Shavasana. So getting comfortable. Again, seeing if you can settle into this stage of your practice. Surrender the weight of your body. Surrender yourself to the stillness that is to follow. See if we can walk that fine line between allowing space for and observing our thoughts without allowing them to take over. When you're ready, begin to deepen your breathing. Maybe directing that inhale into a particular part or parts of the body. And taking as much time as you need to make that transition out of your Shavasana and into the next part of your practice. Bringing movement back into your body. And gradually finding your way to a comfortable seat to close. Again, when you find that seat, there's no rush. But when you do get there, can you give yourself to it? Can you give yourself fully to these final moments of your practice? Maybe using this time to notice how you're feeling. Maybe using this time just to listen to the sounds around you. To feel yourself maybe as a small part of something bigger. Well done. Thank you very much. As always, I hope you guys have a lovely, if slightly damp, rest of your day. And I'll see you next Saturday.
Thank you.
Thanks, Hannah. I feel way more alive now.
Oh, I don't think I do.